6 divers went underwater to enjoy the scenery. On the way back, 3 of them ran out of air one after another. The remaining 3 panicked and evacuated from the murky water. One person got stuck at the cave entrance, unable to get through. The only way out. At the critical moment, a buddy shoved him hard from behind. He barely escaped the entrance when a massive rush of sediment blasted out, engulfing everyone. This is the infamous Kaple cave diving accident in diving circles. A fatal incident. Above the surface off Maui, Hawaii, carrying the morning chill, a submarine boat. 6 people were preparing to depart. They weren't close to each other. Just a few tourists on vacation, crammed onto the same boat. The leader, Ed, was a local open water diving instructor. He had led many groups into the cave before. This time, as usual, he swam ahead to scout the path and recorded an underwater video for the tourists as a souvenir. His assistant Xiao Su stayed at the back of the line, acting as a safety diver. If a tourist ran into trouble in the middle, they could go forward to Ed or back to him. That gave the team double insurance. The remaining 4 were tourists who paid for the boat tickets. John Baird mentioned that he had quite a bit of open water diving experience, but he was honest about only having done cave dives 3 or 4 times. As for Tom Curran, he'd only gotten his diving license 3 years ago. He'd never tried cave diving at all. As for Japan Shigesada, no one knew his skill level. The last one was Preston Penny, who was on his honeymoon. He'd only dived 4 times with Ed a few days earlier. This time, he brought a waterproof camera on purpose, planning to take underwater photos of marine life as a souvenir for his new wife. Out of the 6, there was an instructor. Helpers, gear, and experience, no shortage there. On the surface, it seemed fine. But in reality, no one knew each other. None of them had received formal cave diving training. Not even the leader, Ed. The dive boat stopped on the water near the cavern of Kaple. The 6 of them tumbled into the water one after another, and then entered the cavern of Kaple. This place wasn't your typical labyrinth with tons of branching paths. Instead, it was more like a volcanic rock tunnel flooded by seawater. According to Ed's plan, they went in from the entrance, followed the main route straight ahead, passing through 3 small chambers along the way. Finally, they surfaced from the other end of the cave. There was a checkpoint set up along the way, right at the midpoint of the route. When each team member got there, they all had to check their oxygen tanks. If the air was below half, they should head straight back to the boat. And that was it. Ed swam in front with his camera. The 4 tourists followed behind him. Xiao Su brought up the rear. Everyone entered the cave one by one. The tunnel at the entrance was clear and wide, big enough for 6 people to swim side by side. But the deeper they went, the narrower the cave got, and the darker it became. A thick layer of soft mud covered the cave floor. It would churn up with just a little stirring, so everyone had to press against the ceiling, one by one, and slowly inch forward. After about 10 minutes of swimming, a beam of sunlight slanted in from the top of the cave. They'd reached the checkpoint. By the rules, everyone stopped there. They checked their pressure gauges. It was almost exactly half left. But no one noticed at the time that what Ed said about turning back after using half the air was actually based on open water diving rules. In the ocean or a big lake, you breathe in half, breathe out half. If something goes wrong, you can just float back to the surface. But once you enter a cave, it's a whole different story. Overhead is nothing but solid rock. No one can float upward. You can only backtrack the way you came in. That's why professional cave diving follows the rule of thirds. 1/3 of the air for going forward, 1/3 for the return trip, and the last third for emergencies. By this standard, most people should turn back right now. To make matters worse, the checking point wasn't where Ed thought it was. It wasn't in the middle of the passage. Actually, it was at the 1/3 mark. In other words, they had used up half their air, but only covered 1/3 of the distance, and the remaining 2/3 of the passage was the most dangerous section of the entire route. After the checking point, they took turns visiting the small chamber and the turtle room. Nothing went wrong. But the real challenge began at the deep chamber. The deep chamber was the deepest of the 3 caves, reaching a depth of 30 meters, roughly the height of a 10-story building. At this depth, every breath a person takes consumes 3 to 4 times the air they would on the surface. And the entrance to that deep chamber was so narrow it could only fit 1 person. The 6 of them had to line up and squeeze in one by one. After making 1 full round, Tom and John reached out and stopped Ed, pointing at their own pressure gauges. Only a 5th left. Ed nodded and led the 2 of them out of the deep chamber, swimming toward the exit. On the way, Tom's tank let out a sonar alarm, a sign that the oxygen was almost gone. In a panic, Ed quickly handed over an emergency regulator, letting Tom share his tank. As they neared the entrance, the tank ran low again. The 2 had no choice but to hold their breath and race toward the surface. In the end, they barely made it out alive. At that moment, Masao Shigetake, Preston, and Xiao Su were still in the deep chamber. After Ed and the others left, the water slowly began to get murky. In the dim light, someone's feet stirred up the silt from the bottom again. Xiao Su made a hand signal. He made a retreat gesture. Shigeo Masataka reacted very quickly and was the first to squeeze out of the narrow opening. But Preston was holding a flashlight in one hand and clutching the waterproof camera tightly in the other, coupled with the anxiety, but he was all curled up, stuck in the crevice and couldn't get free no matter what. At the critical moment, Xiao Su behind him gave him a hard shove upward, and Preston finally got out of the tight spot. Before he could even catch his breath, thicker, heavier mud gushed out from the narrow opening and instantly engulfed all three of them. Their visibility went to zero immediately. Shigeo Masataka was completely at a loss, so he just swam in one direction by instinct. He had no idea how long he swam, before bumping into Xiao Su in the murky water. The two of them fumbled around for each other and accidentally drifted into the inspection hatch. After breaking the surface, they grabbed the edge of the boat and saw Ed, Tom, and John all lying exhausted on the boat. The five of them looked at each other and realized Preston hadn't come out yet. Ed didn't say a word, grabbed a fresh air tank and dove right back into the water. Not far from the exit of the deep chamber, they found Preston's body. He was lying face down at the bottom, one hand still holding the light, the other gripping the waterproof camera tightly. His gear was still neatly in place, only the air tank was completely empty. At first glance, the passage where he fell didn't look that complicated. Whether he went left or turned right, either way could theoretically lead to an exit. But actually that checkpoint was a slanted tunnel. Looking up from below, just a slight angle off and you'd totally miss it. So, even if Preston had swum near the checkpoint, he might not have recognized it. So he turned around and swam back. He might have tried going left too, but in that murky, muddy water, the exit right in front and the entrance far off were all just a blur to him. Looking back at the whole incident, Preston's tragedy wasn't an accident. It was doomed from the start. This accident boils down to one reason. They took their open water diving experience and tried to do cave diving. Sure, both are called diving, but they're completely different beasts. In open water, with the wide ocean above you, whatever happens, all you gotta do is swim up. But in a confined cave, there's nothing but rock above, so you gotta go back the way you came. That difference makes all those open water rules totally useless here. Half your air left isn't enough to turn back. Without a guideline, you're screwed. An unfamiliar buddy is a risk. Even the way you breathe has to be recalculated. Tom was a qualified open water instructor. Every decision he made was the right call in open water. But he applied those rules to a place where they didn't belong at all. So it was bound to be a disaster. Jack wasn't the accident. The other five surviving is the real accident. And Jack did everything a tourist could reasonably do. Followed the guide, listened to instructions, didn't panic. The only thing he didn't do was question the plan itself. But he had no reason to doubt it. He wasn't a diving expert. He just wanted to film some underwater scenery, a memento for the newlywed travelers. That waterproof camera, he never let go of it until the day he died.